going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check. This is your preview for TNA Bound for Glory 2024, and that is Jake fucking DeMARCO. What's going on, buddy?
I thought it was Impact. Where have I been? Holy cow. No, honestly.
It's Wednesday night. You know what that means? We're watching anything but AEW.
Exactly. We're here talking about Impact instead of, or TNA, I should say, jokes aside. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, this is our first, as you mentioned, TNA only real, podcast. And I've been looking forward to this weekend for a long time coming. You especially, I know, have been looking forward to this. I mean, we've got just a totally stacked weekend of great wrestling ahead of us between Halloween Havoc, Bound for Glory, back-to-back, Saturday, Sunday. Gonna be a hell.
And a lot of chances for crossover as well. I want to say right out the gate, anybody listening right now that wants to interact with us on X, please feel free to use the very, very cheesy hashtag that I've been using for a while, Bound for Havoc, and I just so that I know you guys are listening, quite frankly. But we will be doing Halloween Havoc at another time because there's quite a bit of NXT-related stuff we're going to throw into this pod. But this pod is strictly TNA, Bound for Glory. It's their WrestleMania. 9 matches announced right now. As I said, we're recording this on Wednesday, so we have not yet seen the go-home show. They are not quite as bad as AEW, but they do have a habit of sort of stuffing in a couple extras at the last minute.
They do like to go on Twitter before recently and be like, oh, by the way, on the pre-show, we're throwing in such and such, so...
But I feel like they have a way of presenting it as, just have this other exhibition without expecting you to be like, oh my god, I can't believe we're getting this. Like, just give us something else random. Like, I think, if I was to guess, probably Xia Brookside, because they seem to be doing a little bit of push with her on the undercard. She could have an exhibition with somebody. We could get some comedy stuff with Ariana Grace and Santino, because that stuff's been really fun to watch. But right now, as it stands, there's only the 2024 Hall of Fame inductees and the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. Now, we're going to talk about the Call Your Shot Gauntlet in a second, because I think you and I are both looking forward to it. But I do want to take a minute and mention the Hall of Fame inductees. Number 1 is Rhino.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because they've been doing this for a good bit of time now. So it's kind of like their tradition. Hey, we're gonna honor people. I think it's like... how long ago did they start this? Not too long ago. I think 2020, something like that. Maybe even a little before, where they started doing it. No, with Bound for Glory, where they had it combined.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, because the Hall of Fame was kind of an off and on thing.
It wasn't consistent for TNA. Like, they would do it.
My following of it hasn't been consistent up until very, very recently. Like, they're connected to NXT, they're connected to Destiny. Like, check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list.
I want to say... It was like 2012 when they were like 10 years old. I swear that's when they were like, oh, we're going to do a big thing. And I remember it being like in Arizona, they had this whole thing and they had all this media about it. And then they did it next year and then they waited a little bit. And I feel like they missed like a year in like 2017 or 19. And then it kind of came back again and something like that. But I'm not crazy great with my TNA. Actually, you know what? I'm looking it up right now. Yeah, Phoenix, Arizona, October 13th. That was their first one. Scored 2 points for the Jake Band. But
there you go.
You know what? Yeah, they started it at their 10th anniversary, 2012. I see it right here as I'm double checking. And like you said, it hasn't always been a very consistent thing. So for them to go ahead and set out time, Rhino, he's wrestled with them since 2005, on and off.
Former NWA champion when they were using that as their title, former TNA World Tag Team Champion. The one note that I really wanted to hit on, because I didn't realize it, because I haven't always watched TNA, so I wouldn't know this.
Yeah.
The inaugural Bound for Glory, 2005, he won the world title, the NWA World title off Jeff Jarrett, so that's something.
And you know what? The thing is there, Jeff Jarrett was like running roughshod on the company at that point where he was in everything. It was like, oh, wild Jeff Jarrett appears, as Murky D would say. And he was
they literally did the King of the Mountain match.
Yeah. I mean, they were just ruining everything with Jarrett's involvement. And it felt so forced and very closed off and just kind of negative. It was like a Triple H reign of terror.
I hate that. Being a Triple H fan, I hate that that's a thing. It's like people that like Sean Waltman, and I count myself as one of them, like hate the phrase X-Pac heat, but like for the example you're giving, it's absolutely correct, unfortunately.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Big credit to Jeff Jarrett, though. I mean, I know it's over there, but like he's still going today.
Yeah.
So
and
take your hat off to him.
That's crazy. And then posthumously, they're going to award Bob Ryder with a Hall of Fame induction.
Yep.
He was obviously an online wrestling
I didn't know
journalist.
who he was when the announcement was made, so I was really ignorant on that as well.
I didn't know he was a co-founder of TNA. I just knew about his wrestling journalist career. So.
See, and I'm looking at, I think we're both looking at the same page, but basically started TNA with Jerry and Jeff Jarrett in 2002 and was an executive up until he passed in 2020.
Yeah, crazy. So.
That's like, how is that, like, and I know my following of TNA/Impact has been very off and on, but it is one of those things, unfortunately, when somebody passes away and you go, like, how is that not a name that was more in the I mean, Jeff Jarrett was obviously the face of it, but, like, how is that not a name you know?
Exactly.
Like, we know Nick Khan these days as much as we know Triple H, as far as, like, the powers behind the scenes and all that kind of stuff, and, you know, the other people behind TKO Group as they are now. Like, how is Rob Ryder not a name we knew before? And I'm not going to pretend either. So.
Well, I only knew it like through like Bill Apter, because he closed One Wrestling and whatnot. I remember that, but because that was like a big news story at the end of the COVID times, you know, when it was bad. But yeah, I mean, you figure he's been there consistently until 2020, so 18 years of service to TNA, and he really tried to, you know, give it his best. And I think he's got quite the legacy, so I'm happy to see what they do for him in video package form and how they honor him with, you know, for their Hall of Fame. But I like that combination of Hall of Fame and some kickoff, like, all together.
Yeah. I'd love to think that, I know he's not with the company anymore, Scott D'Amore, but I'd love to think that, especially for an inductee like this, I would like to hope that he's invited/involved, because you got to believe they worked hand in hand at some point. But I don't think that's a thing.
Side notes, my dream was always to have the Hall of Fame as a kickoff to WrestleMania. Now that WrestleMania is 2 nights, it kind of makes a little less sense too, so they can have their own thing. But if they did everybody together with just like an hour, straight hour, not let everybody talk for 5 hours on end, you know, just keep it short, concise, but make it a good. I think that would always be a great like nostalgia pop and make people excited for Mania, but. You know, at least they're doing their own thing with it. I wish they would open some type of actual Hall of Fame. Yeah. I have been going through like a treasure trove of content on the WWE Vault channel, and that's one of my favorite things right now.
The Halloween Havoc pumpkin
balloon, the pumpkin and the bat and all that stuff. And it's just like it's so cool to see those things. They have a whole warehouse full of shit.
The only reason I wouldn't say kickoff for WrestleMania is because kickoff has such a negative connotation to it these days. You could fight back against that, but I don't know that it would. If I had my way, like give me a magic 8-ball or whatever you want to say, take SmackDown off of Friday for 1 week. They're going to be on Netflix. They can do it. Put SmackDown on another night for 1 week. Put the Takeover on Friday. And put the Hall of Fame in the midday Saturday slot where they're doing Stand and Deliver these days.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I do think it needs to be treated as 2 separate events. I don't think, like, the way they connect it to SmackDown now is kind of gross.
Yeah, and I also find it unfortunate that the you know, pretty much the if you look through it all, I mean, NXT kind of suffers a bit with the placement because they have to do things midday. I mean, it's WrestleMania weekend. It's going to get eyes, but I wish they could have found a way to like, hey, we're not going to have really SmackDown. We're going to have Stand and Deliver and then do like an hour like recap thing after it or something. But
as I say, that's one of the things that they can play with when they're on Netflix, because the next WrestleMania season will be the first Netflix WrestleMania season. That's something that they can play with. Exactly. I do think it's kind of cool, as you mentioned, they sort of mixed in the Hall of Fame with the matches on the kickoff, and it is the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. For anybody listening that's not aware, it's basically the Royal Rumble until the last 2 competitors, and then with the last 2 competitors, the final win is decided by pinfall or submission, countout or disqualification. Winner gets a trophy and a contract they can invoke at any time within a year for any championship of their choosing. So it's kind of a combination Royal Rumble in the bank. As you said, as I continue to give I was actually talking about it on X earlier today, actually. As I continue to give TNA credit for, they're the only company on TV on a regular basis out of the, if you want to call them the big 3, it's the big 2 and then TNA, that are actually doing proper like men's, women's, intergender wrestling. They were the first big one on TV to have a woman fight for their main world title. It is also an opportunity to have some fun. It is an opportunity to have some cameos. I definitely predict anybody that's not participating in Halloween Havoc the next night could show up in the Battle Royal. So my first question to Mr. Jake DeMarco.
Yes.
You got the book of NXT. Excluding anybody that's competing the next night, because I think they're in two very different places, who would you have show up as a random cameo? Not necessarily to win it, but who would you like to see show up?
No, but to make people pop. I think I'm going through now because Cedric's already busy with Javon, so that would have been. I would have said Javon originally. I think he could have been fun in that spot, but since he's going to be doing tag stuff, maybe Hank and Tank. You know,
that's exactly the one I was going for.
That was my.
We need something fun.
Yeah, I figured Javon would be fast. I mean, if you can't get him, you could show off Ashanti as well. I think that would be a cool, have the Adonis out there. If I could have it my way, I would have freaking Ethan Page win it. You know what I mean? Just because, but he's wrestling the next night.
Yeah.
But I'm so high on him at this point. But yeah, I mean, even Oro Mensah would be a good choice because I don't think
Oro Mensah would be a lot of fun if he wasn't in a title match the next night.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Obafemi?
Obafemi would be great.
Obafemi, because there's a fair few big guys in TNA that he could throw around and have a bit of a spot with. Another fun.
Bringing in Wes Lee could be fun just because of the implications, and you could still have Trey or somebody screw him over after this, because they're one win apiece at this point.
See, if it was Wes Lee, because I predicted that we were going to, after the Triple Threat #1 contender match for the stuff we're going to talk about tomorrow night, I thought Halloween Havoc was going to give us Javon Evans, Wes Lee one-on-one. If they were doing that at Havoc, I would have Wesley do it tonight, have him get into some kind of altercation with Zachary Wentz, or even a returning Trey Miguel, and then Trey Miguel gets involved the next night on Halloween Havoc, and then you finally get the Wesley Trey Miguel match at some point. For fun, I was going to say Hank and Tank as well, so that's hilarious. But also, because he's such a fucking scumbag, not MJF, Lexus King.
Yeah.
Lexus King in TNA, because TNA has a certain level of ridiculousness that always kind of exists there, and I think he would fit there more than NXT, but I kind of want him to stay on NXT as well.
No doubt. I also wouldn't mind seeing, I would say Lola Vice or Nikita Lyons would be two, because Nikita just came back. You want to make a big
Jada Parker
statement. Jada Parker's another one too.
Jada Parker would be really, really good.
Even Sol Ruka, I wouldn't mind her.
Sol Ruka would get a nice reaction too because she's had a good showing both against Jordynne Grace and as Jordynne Grace's tag team partner. So that would be. I was trying to go more for the guys only because the transitions from NXT to TNA, to their credit, have been mostly with the women.
Yeah.
Charlie Dempsey had his one match with Jonathan Gresham, so having him show up in the Battle Royal to maybe re-spark that technicians classic between the two of them. Anybody could have an interaction with anybody that leads to, hey, we've got a show tomorrow night, why don't I see you there? I kind of want to see something. Where one leads to the other. The closest that we had was Zachary Wentz winning the X Division Championship before he came to NXT to face Wesley, except they didn't put it on the line. Whatever. Yeah. I do want to see something between the two, one affecting the other. Now, Bound for Glory is the bigger show.
Yes.
Halloween Havoc's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about that in the next pod. I do think NXT needs to let TNA be the bigger show this weekend. And I'm saying that as the NXT guy, whatever, but this is, as we've said, this is their WrestleMania. So, them having a card full of, mostly goofy, gimmick, whatever you want to say, matches, and this being a more stacked, this is our big show of the year card, I think TNA gets the bigger platform this weekend. But I would still like to see some After Effects on the show the next night.
I don't know
how we fit that in because we've got 5 matches and a debut on Sunday to talk about.
Yeah, and bringing Zarya in, if that's Zarya, however you're gonna pronounce it. I didn't know a ton about Delta. Like I know she's Australian. I've seen some like matches recently. She does this really cool F6, so it's a little spin on the F5, so you get the fireman's carry, but she does it into like a full face buster, so it's pretty damn cool. So
nice.
It's got a bit of a difference.
I did say somebody like I've got one friend at work that watches wrestling sort of like out of the corner of his eye type of thing. He's like, I happened to watch NXT last night. I saw, this, she kind of gives me a Beth Phoenix thing, like a Beth Phoenix kind of vibe, which is cool. I mean, all we did was see her stand there and look menacing. But I'll say, like, the way they present her all like fighting warrior, like all the vignettes we've seen, whatever, plus the face paint, she's female Legion of Doom.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, much more talk about that tomorrow night, but exactly. Fun to speculate.
Exactly, no doubt about it. And I mean, Cody Rhodes even said now, he had an interview come out earlier today with ARC Las Vegas. They're talking because of Mania coming there. And he's like, NXT is intimidating now because it's no longer a developmental. It's a grooming ground for the monsters who are going to come up and eventually stand across the ring from you, and they've been trained by friggin' Shawn Michaels. Yep. He's like, so we're definitely preparing the next generation. But he's right. It doesn't really have the same developmental feel as the earlier iterations of NXT. We had Neville and that kind of crew.
That's the key difference, though, that I find with this version of NXT. Is it's more a developmental brand now than it ever has been, and it doesn't feel like one.
Exactly.
I think the fact that they're balancing that is fantastic.
They're giving them big show feels. They're on equal footing with AEW and WWE. They're viewed as, as important. Like, they want everybody to tune into Halloween Havoc. It's not like, our little shit show's on for the weekend.
They are also going to a venue that TNA has a long history with the 2300 Arena.
Yes.
Which we're going to talk more about tomorrow as
well.
So
much to cover tomorrow.
But, yeah, less matches and much more talking points, and I'm sure I'm going to be super popular with some of them. But the Call Your Shot Gauntlet, lots of fun. I know he's got another match on the card, but I do think this is maybe where Josh Alexander sort of reclaws his way into the title picture, or just picks a new enemy to fuck out of a title shot. I think even though he's on the main card and this is on the kickoff, I think Josh Alexander gets involved in it somehow. I don't think any participants have actually been announced. So that might be happening tomorrow night.
Yeah, and I think that's on the build to Saturday. Because the only thing I see, it says Call Your Shot Gauntlet returns on the countdown to TNA Bound for Glory, and the participants will be as follows, and it just has an empty block. So
yeah. Well, this is again with TNA being so late. It's the same thing as previewing a WWE show before we've seen SmackDown.
Yeah,
it's the same thing as previewing any other TNA shows, because they typically take place on Friday, which makes thing a little awkward. So we always have to come with the disclaimer that we have not seen the Go Home show. We've just got what's here so far. So if we're missing something, if something drastically changes, which also happens quite a bit, or if something gets added, we didn't know. You're doing a little bit of a time travel thing with us. Now, sort of, I think this is, I'm going to start at the bottom. I'm pretty sure you're on Wiki as well. I'm starting at the bottom just because I think it's sort of like a sneaky dark horse type match of the night. Josh Alexander, Steve Macklin.
Yeah, and especially with everything that happened with Josh Alexander. So they've had this really compelling story that's affecting the main event side of things without diminishing the people that aren't in the main event.
Exactly.
So even though Joe Hendry beat Josh Alexander at Victory Road, and then Kazarian was kind of like, oh, you used the cup, blah, 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 and Santino had them two face, and they faced off, and that was a really good match. But now it's like, okay, well, Josh Alexander didn't just lose. Like, there's more to it here. So I like that there's still, this card is shaped out very well. There's nothing on here that feels like bloat, and everything feels like it's there for a reason. Now,
everything either feels really built up, or at least like it's going to deliver on the night, or both.
Or it's important for, like you said, that moment, or in the grand scheme of things. So, I mean, we're going to get the X Division. We're going to get, everything that we're usually used to. And it's kind of cool seeing AAA involved as well. because that also means like then they're WWE friendly. And because they wouldn't be able to, I guess how it's working now, even though TNA is still its own entity, because they're sharing talent, they do have to confer and like work with WWE on quite a few things. And it's actually helped both sides. So because they have to have, as you said before, if they have any story that, you know, crosses paths or coincides, they got to make sure with TNA being taped at times that they can get things prepared. So they're very ahead. And you know, it was like, all right, we're seeing this whole Northern Armory formation that I'm not too crazy about. I mean,
I will say, and this is the first of many, many, many times I'm going to say this tonight, because the crossover with Destiny is fucking insane.
I know.
Josh Alexander, for the longest time, he wasn't the champion when I first started going to Destiny, but he was like, at the time, I said it seems to me like this is Destiny's AJ Styles.
Yeah.
Like, even if he's not the champion, he's the guy. I think I came in and started going to Destiny shows just as he was being cemented as the guy, and he eventually got the title off of Pete Dunne. Really, really fantastic match as well. So I'm a little biased towards Josh Alexander. Steve Macklin has been our champion a little bit more recently. He fought Aiden Prince. Aiden Prince unfortunately got injured. Macklin, they threw the belt on him that night, and then he kind of held it for a bit until Trent Seven picked it up, and then Trent Seven just recently dropped it to Hammerstone. So lots and lots and lots of crossover. So Steve Macklin was our champion for a bit, but also Sinner and Saint, the two guys that are with Josh
Judas and Travis.
Yeah. Travis I'm not so familiar with. Judas Icarus is currently the Destiny New Era champion.
Oh, see, so I thought he was up there.
So
I knew you had mentioned something at some point. And I'm not crazy about the Northern Armory name. I guess that's why, like, but whatever. I get. What
I think it would have
here.
been way too for them to say the Northern Army would have been a little generic. I think they think by making it Armory, they change it, but it's a mouthful. Mm-hmm. Pause.
Exactly. That it is, and I'm not swallowing.
But it's so many people that I've seen in person. What's going to get lost in the shuffle here is Steve Macklin, because Steve Macklin, briefly in WWE, didn't really get to flesh himself out very much. Obviously found his way in TNA. And I'll say this from watching him on TNA, and I'll say this from seeing him in person at the Destiny shows. Normally I would say this is a bad thing, but like he's just a guy wrestler. And what I mean by that is nothing's super flashy. Nothing is super... Well, I mean, everything wrestlers do is impressive, but, like, on that scale, nothing is, like, super impressive. It's not incredibly high-flying. It's not even incredibly, like, intricate or innovative. It's just, like, solid.
Yeah, and it's going to be a great workhorse type of match. And
Josh Alexander is a machine.
No shit, and him hitting Eric Young's knee with the steel chair, like I had watched that back before this, you know, from the earlier in the month, and that was just so damn good the way they presented everything. And so now it's like, oh, Northern Armory did attack Steve behind his back, and it's like, oh, that's why. So they go ahead and they've got him restrained with zip ties, beating the hell out of him, and it was compelling. It was well done. And
this is 1 week after. Sorry, I gotta say this.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to ask you, actually. I meant to ask you this earlier today. Did you catch any of the MLP show?
No, I didn't. So
check it out.
I have heard great things.
Okay,
but
I am not the hugest fan of Takeshita. Not because it's AEW. It's just like he's fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but he's not somebody that grabs me. He had 2 matches on the 2 different nights because it was Saturday, Sunday. One of them was with Mike Bailey, and one of them was with Josh Alexander. Josh Alexander himself is saying the Mike Bailey match was better, but holy fuck, if you don't watch anything else from MLP from last weekend, check out Josh Alexander versus Konosuke Takeshita.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out.
It's insane. Also,
I like Takeshita too. Not saying you don't, but I especially like him. So seeing this, it's like, all right, fuck yeah, let's see what we got.
Machine. It's because it's 2 guys, and I'll say this about Takeshita, and I'll say it about Josh Alexander as well. I really, really enjoy watching Josh Alexander do what he does in the ring, but he's so he's not quite a high flyer, but he's dexterous enough, and he's got the Kurt Angle sort of technical side of him and whatever. But because of that, you forget how big he is.
Yes.
And this is a guy that I've seen in person a lot. And Konosuke Takeshita is another one. You forget how big he is until they start smacking the fuck out of each other.
Yeah, Takeshita's no small, foreigner. He goes ahead and he gets in the ring, and you're like, oh shit, he's very tall, and he's more built than most of the guys. And the problem
general, for anybody listening, I will say check out the MLP show. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't. I don't think it'll set the entire world on fire.
No,
but I will say, like, the wrestlers did the wrestling stuff. Guy that I'm a huge fan of, Aiden Prince, had different matches both nights. You had Kushida and his partner Brian Knight, I think, who are the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions.
Gotcha.
They defended the titles the first night, and then they teamed with Aiden Prince on the second night. I gotta say, Don Callis, Mauro Ranallo on commentary. Mackenzie Mitchell doing all the backstage interviews.
Yeah, because I've been looking forward to hearing, the return of Morrow. So I didn't get to see it yet, but I've been excited for it. So
even I will say, again, somebody that I'm more familiar with from Destiny, they have ring announcer Sam Laterna.
Oh wow, I didn't know that either.
Who's got a lot of personality in what she does. She had a lot of interaction with dickheads like QT Marshall and Bully Ray. Bully Ray and Jinder Mahal had a tables match.
Yes, yeah, that was
a lot of fun. So. Jinder was over. I should say Raj Desi as he goes now. Lots and lots and lots of really fun stuff. Athena, just reinforcing the whole Tony Khan. How are you not putting this woman on your TV every week?
Yeah. So you're like,
anyway,
not
using this to bash AEW, but a lot of people that we're going to talk about on this card were on that as well. Athena and Giselle Shaw.
Yeah.
Put on a hell of a match.
So right
Giselle Shaw, I'm really starting to like Giselle Shaw as a wrestler and as a sort of an underrated, like, exists just under the radar. You mentioned all the badass people. Like, I would say, who stood out on the weekend? Obviously Mike Bailey, obviously Aiden Prince, obviously Josh Alexander, obviously Athena, and then it would be that. Oh yeah, and Giselle Shaw was pretty fucking awesome too.
Yeah,
and they had four other ladies in a four-way match whose names I don't remember because I'm terrible, but they were also really good.
Well, it's hard to keep up nowadays, too, because there's so much wrestling. There's so many people working. Like, the indies have exploded everywhere. And seeing Beyond be in the news recently and all the shit that they're doing still, with Gulak being a bit of a pariah.
I don't care. I'm not speaking for Jake when I say this. I'm only saying this for myself just so I don't get Jake in trouble.
Oh, hey, I'm all for it.
Good for Gulak. He got fucked, and he found a way to turn it around and use it.
Yeah, he's using it as a story, and I'm not hating on it, certainly. I mean, clearly what they wanted to do with it. Was I a threat?
People are saying fire.
You should have been
people are saying fire Max Caster because they liked Drew Gulak's tweet.
Yeah, that was a little bit.
The world is so
extreme.
fucked, man. Good for Gulak.
I don't know when people lost their mind, but it certainly has happened. And it feels like I'm looking around the room being like, why is everyone so crazy but me? And it just...
I saw a great thing online, and we're diverting way past the point now. I saw a good thing online the other day. Why is the world so angry? Because the people who've done nothing are tired of apologizing for everything.
Yeah, that's actually a really great way to sum that up.
Anyways, we're not going to land on that too much because I've got a lot more fun stuff to get into. Josh Alexander, Steve Macklin, one of two things is going to happen. They're going to beat the fuck out of each other, and and this is going to be the first showcase for Josh Alexander's new group, or they're going to try and use the group against Steve Macklin, and this is where we see the return of the injured Eric Young, and he wasn't as injured as we thought he was, and it becomes sort of a 2-on-3, but the 3 are like one wrestler and 2 like lackeys, so the 2 get the win. Eric Young, sort of behind the scenes, being the real motivating voice of TNA, seems to be a pretty constant thing as well. So good for him.
Yeah, I think Macklin's going to win this one. I'm going to go on the side of Steve Macklin because I honestly feel like with the way the story was built, you got him being the face, Josh's group is the heels. I know you don't want to neuter them right away, but I think something's going to happen where it's like a distraction or something. Steve's going to go ahead and capitalize, and they'll have another match after this, I think, as well. I don't see this being the end of the feud.
No way.
Like you said, it'll definitely lead to a tag or a 6-man tag.
Well, it'll be
the
case when you got a bad guy and the Stooges are a tag team. If you've got two guys that want to go after that guy, those two guys have to face the two Stooges first.
Yeah.
So it'll be him on the outside. I think either Alexander wins in a match where you see lots of opportunities that should have been a win for Macklin, like referee's down and there's a clear pin count, or 1-2 and the referee gets pulled out. You put in enough times that Macklin quote unquote should have won, and then Alexander just takes it away from him.
That's really all you need, but
yeah, either that or there's just straight up not a finish. Eric Young comes in berserker mode, beats the shit out of Josh Alexander.
Yeah,
also fine.
About it.
Eric Young's fucking huge these days too. I mentioned in our last pod, Crazy Steve's not like gangly little Crazy Steve anymore, looking almost like Darby Allin. He's jacked. Eric Young's freaking jacked in his older age. Josh Alexander, Eric Young, I'll take another round of that because of the way he like turned and then tried to make it look like, oh, Eric Young had brought him back to the light side. It's like, oh, it takes a real man to admit when you were going in the wrong direction. He just takes him out again.
Just completely smashes him, so.
Just kill somebody with hope.
Yeah, hey.
Kill somebody with hope.
That's all you need, and it works. And
anyways,
so many
I'm
levels.
going with Alexander or a no contest. Moving on to one of the crown jewels, pun intended, of TNA, the X Division Championship, and it's basically just an exhibition. It's basically just Mike Bailey finished his defense against Leon Slater, which was awesome. Go check it out if you haven't. And we got the announcement and the video and the graphic that he's going to be facing a returning El Hijo del Vikingo.
I was surprised to hear this, and like I said, the throwing in of AAA, it's like, okay, good. I'm glad to hear that they still have a working relationship, because with their involvement with WWE, it wasn't positive, because Lucha Libre AAA was having issues before, and isn't that where Stephanie Vacour had to go ahead and relinquish her title from too, I believe, right?
I'm not sure. I know where she was. She had to dip out of her last couple of obligations. I couldn't tell you where, because I don't pretend to know things that I don't know. Maybe. Could be a thing. This is going to be a great match. I do have to say this really quick before we talk about what a cool match this is going to be. I get that there's a crossover, and yes, we can have this same conversation about NXT. I get that there's a crossover, but this is their WrestleMania for the year. Is there not anybody in their X division that deserved to maybe at least try for that title on the biggest stage?
She worked for CMLL, so that's why I wasn't sure if it was AAA or CMLL, but still, same idea.
CMLL works with AEW, which would explain the match she had where she basically held Mercedes up
exactly, because AAA is doing it with TNA and WWE. So
yeah,
bingo, we should have figured that out. But hey,
anyways, but yeah, so I do have to take a moment and pause and recognize that, hey, like, this is great for the crossover. It could have been somebody from your X Division roster, but I imagine a lot of those people are going to be having high spots in the Call Your Shot gauntlet. I wonder if anybody gets involved. I wonder if we revisit the issue, or not the issue, but the friendly rivalry that Mike Bailey had with Zachary Wentz. If he's not going to be involved in Rascals stuff or tag team stuff, then I would like to see them revisit that. Maybe, I mean, I'm calling Mike Bailey to win this, so I'm thinking maybe Mike Bailey gets a really, really hard-fought victory against Vikingo, and maybe there's a stare down with Wentz, like, hey, don't forget about me, motherfucker.
Yeah,
exactly. Type of idea. I don't think Vikingo's winning this. I like Vikingo. Credit where it's due. Vikingo is one of the few people that AEW actually introduced me to. And it's like, okay, Viking, except he also kind of looks like he's from Game of Thrones. Cool, I can roll with that. It's fun. I like him in the ring. I mean, first match I saw was him and Kenny Omega, and I'm really warming up to Kenny Omega. So I don't know. There's nothing bad for me to say here. It's an exhibition, so there's less for me to dig my teeth into. Any chance you think this partnership means they toss the title over to Vikingo?
I mean, it certainly could happen. That's a lot of promotion. That's a lot of, you get quite the bit of happening with that happening. So I could see them wanting to do it. But with Bailey just getting this title pretty much recently, I have a hard time envisioning them being like, all right, forget it. We're going to, switch again. But It certainly could happen.
I don't think they would do it again because they did it and then they immediately took it off him for the Wentz thing and then put it back on him. And
just like Braun Breaker. And, people were upset when he lost the title, but now they see the story play out and what the intention was. And it's like, oh, hey, look at that. We're not idiots.
With the Jey Uso thing, if people are pretending that they don't know that this is about something much bigger, then they're just lying.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of people were like, how could he lose when he's got... And it's like, come on now, really. Think for a second. But... with this one, with Mike, he really just got the belt, it feels like. Yep. So, again, I'm gonna double down on my recommendation from MLP Night 1. Mike Bailey versus Takeshita is something you want to check out. Different kind of match. Kind of match. I mean, Josh Alexander himself is putting it over. Interesting little trivia thing, and yes, it's another, Destiny, check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list, it's fine. Josh Alexander, Mike Bailey, and Trent Seven have what in common? What, X Division?
No. They all signed their TNA contracts.
Oh, yes, they're all renewing, yes.
No, they all signed they all signed their first ever TNA contracts in a ring in the Don Koloff Arena, which is the home of Destiny Wrestling. Check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list. It's fine. I saw Josh Alexander hugging Scott D'Amore as he signed his contract in a Destiny ring. Yeah. I saw Mike Bailey.
History.
I saw Mike Bailey fight Josh Alexander.
Yeah.
Get his contract from Scott D'Amore and sign it on Josh Alexander's back.
Which is crazy.
I saw the very last Impact pay-per-view that also took place in the Don Koloff Arena, where Trent Seven signed his TNA contract. It wasn't a Destiny show, but it was in Destiny's house.
I'll still check it off my bucket list.
It's fine. The Don Koloff Arena is basically our version of the 2300 Arena or Madison Square Garden or whatever you want to say. Daly's Place, whatever.
Whatever you want to call it.
Daly's Place or whatever. Lick a tit or whatever.
Lick a tit or whatever. We got it.
Anyway, I thought that would be interesting trivia for the viewers who haven't already seen me say it a bunch of times.
Yeah, no, that's a hell of a fact because I didn't even consider that. I'm like, what do they have in common besides Jesus, they all signed their
I was gonna wait, and because I thought Trent Seven was on the card as well, but he's not. So good at.
I was surprised he wasn't on here, honestly. So that was a bit.
Not really for me because mostly he's been doing tag stuff with Mike Bailey, and now Mike Bailey has a singles title. It may be an opportunity for him just to take some time off, or maybe he's performing somewhere else. He just recently lost the Destiny Championship to Hammerstone and got his head kicked off, so maybe he's trying to find his face. That didn't work out at all. But speaking of crossover, as I am horrible at transitions,
one of the better crossovers we've gotten so far, and one of the more consistent ones.
And I'm going to say it again. I've had a bunch of opportunities to say this recently. NXT versus TNA. Is this the first opportunity for somebody from one company to hold the other company's belt? Is Wendy Chu, along with Rosemary, going to be a new TNA Women's Tag Team Champion?
I think so. I think that's what they've kind of been building with these two. They've shown how single they can't really get it done, but together they've got something special. Mm-hmm. And when they work as a team, they're very like-minded, in character. They both got the creepy, spooky stuff going on, and I like the creepy, spooky stuff. And so far, it's been really satisfying with this. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
wouldn't they be the pair to bring a brand new toy to Halloween Havoc the next night?
Exactly. So I'm excited to see these, titles come out. So now we got the Knockouts World Tag Team titles on Rosemary and Wendy Chu. Mm-hmm. I'd love, some people are like, oh, I'd really love to just see them win just so they get the belt. Like, that's Wendy Chu for me. She dealt with so much online bullshit for a while over her sleepy gimmick character for no reason at all. Like, especially when the 2.0 rebrand came, she got a lot of unfair criticism, I felt like. Because she always really tried.
Okay, the 2.0 era was hard on everybody. Let's be real for a second. But absolutely. it's really shitty for you to look at 2.0, see what 2.0 is, and single her out as everything else is fine, but hers is the goofy gimmick. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
I mean, look at how Roxanne and Cora Jade, and they were, oh, you're a skateboarder too. You know, they had everything thrown out there for a while, and they were like, oh, you're going to be, you're hip and cool. What's up, fellow kids? Like, 2.0 was bad all the way around, and we knew it then. And
the gimmicks that needed to lasted, and whatever.
And those, like Mandy Rose was very lucky that she was there then in that aspect. Not that she wasn't talented and deserve it, but I'm saying that because Vince loves his blondes and everything, so he really was like, oh, 2.0, I'm going to push the shit out of that, them for a bit, and that was kind of what.
Funny thing is, I'm pretty sure there's more hot blondes in NXT now.
Now,
that's story
exactly. Well, that's why they had to get Vince out.
Oh,
he was touching everybody.
I got to make a call back. If we're going to have cameos in the Call Your Shot Gauntlet, I do want to see Riley Osborne back in TNA.
Okay, that'd be cool.
Because he had a really good showing when he was a guest participant in the, what the fuck was it, Ultimate X match.
Yeah.
A couple shows ago. So, away from the Chase U gimmick a little, like just going and doing his own thing, or even if, like, Thea Hale's, like, there in his corner, I think that would be Thea Hale on TNA would be amazing. Thea Hale coming face to face with Rosemary would be something special to see. Anyway,
no doubt about it.
Rosemary and Wendy, awesome team. Like, even take the crossover stuff out of it, I think they just work as a team. Jody Threat was somebody that I saw for a long time in Destiny. Yes, check it off your Past Phoenix bucket list. It's fine. Before she even came to TNA, she's a lot of fun live. She's a lot of fun on TV. Danny Luna was part of Subculture. I don't know where Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster are right now, but Danny Luna and Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews came to Destiny to take on the cool kids of Destiny, which was Vaughn Vertigo, my buddy El Diablo Gabriel Fuerza, and Alexia Nicole. So I've seen Danny Luna live as well.
Damn. See, I wish we had, what you have for Destiny up there, down here, because we had New England Wrestling, but they didn't do as much with anybody. Like, they would get whoever's popular at the time on the indies. Like, when the Hardys were big on the indies, they're like, oh, we'll pay money and get them out here. Like, that kind of thing, but they never really...
I'll say, like, when I went there, the first thing because it's run out of Battle Arts Academy, which was Santino Morella's gym, so he knows people. The guy that used to run Destiny is now in TNA.
Yeah,
and that's the personal concierge, or as I know him, George Iceman. But yeah, again, people that I've seen up close in person, Danny Luna, Jody Threat. I would love to say that I'm really biased on their side type thing, but
yeah, not quite yet.
It's spooky season.
Mm-hmm.
And
it is spooky season, and like you said, they can, even if they don't follow into Halloween Havoc, they could still come out on the actual week show for NXT, because that's right before Halloween as well. So, I mean, it all kind of works out.
It is true, but also, Wendy Chu has a little surprise for us, or she at least got herself a new toy.
Yeah.
She put a Paxley in a box.
Yes.
I want to know. I need to see the pay-per-view. I need this to be the opening match. And the first thing we see as the pay-per-view is coming on the air is Wendy Chu. She's just been like walking from the Performance Center to Detroit with with the equipment case with Paxley on the inside. Because either it's what do you call it when you start liking the people that have Stockholm syndrome? Because either it's Stockholm syndrome and they become a creepy trio, or Paxley joins up with Jody Threat and Danny Luna, and I can see them being the, like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
type thing. I think
I more hope she joins them.
Yeah. And Paxley was one of the first ones to go the other way when Jordan Grace offered an open challenge. Paxley answered one of her open challenges on a pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. And when a lot of people thought it was going to be Roxanne for, tit for tat for the UFC venue show.
Yes,
that's right. And they were giving her shit because, that's not Roxy. I'm like, yeah, but Paxley's still cool. Also, fuck off. Like, I don't know what you want. It's fun. Leave it alone. We're going to talk a lot about this tomorrow night on
tomorrow NXT pod. Is going to be glorious. But yeah, I mean, I think Rosemary, Wendy Chu, they earned it for spooky season, and the fact that I would like to see them both be honored for all the work they put in.
Oh, for sure.
Rosemary forever now. I mean, yeah, she's had titles and stuff, but just
she's been a tag team champion before, and it does kind of make me wonder where Havoc is.
True.
Because Rosemary and Havoc are the tag team, and has Havoc kind of been put on the shelf. I don't want to speculate because then, you find out something horrible has happened or she's had a baby.
Yeah,
In the case of
exactly.
Killer Kelly,
there was even a couple people online asking for the return of Kimber Lee, your favorite, because of the Gulak thing. So, hey,
good for
check that
Gulak.
off my bucket list.
Hashtag good for Gulak.
Yeah, at least he's getting something out of it. Hey.
So no, like if Havoc comes back,
going down.
if Killer Kelly, because Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich had a great rivalry with Decay at one point. So this would be, if Killer Kelly's ready to come back, I don't know. I don't want to speculate once again. This would be a really cool place to bring her back. It would be a really cool place to bring Havoc back. It would be a really cool thing for Havoc and Wendy Chu to sort of have a stare down and say, oh, you're friends with my creepy friend, but I'm creepier than you, or something.
Yeah, something along the lines of that.
Something Halloween, something.
Yeah. Something spooky.
Oh my God, Decay at Halloween Havoc. How do you not have Halloween Havoc without Havoc?
Exactly. So we never know what surprises we'll get, Sunday either.
Here's the thing that's kind of unfortunate is getting lost in the shuffle is the actual titles, because there's already all these other possibilities. But I got to go back to the Wendy Chu thing one more time. Yes. Somebody's going to get a belt from somebody at some point. Joe Hendry went for the NXT title. Jordan Grace went for the women's title. They didn't choose to put the X Division title on the line with the Rascals situation. Somebody's got to open that door. And if Wendy Chu wins the TNA Women's Tag Team Championship and it opens the door, then it lends more credence to what happens when Joe Hendry comes back. Maybe Moose shows up. There's somebody else that I think is going to cross over. We're going to talk about that tomorrow night because that's
we'll hit on that then. I have a few ideas too. So tomorrow will be the continuation to this, part 2.
Yeah, part 2 of Bound for Havoc. Anyways, Rosemary and Wendy Chu are taking this?
Yeah, I think Spitfire's going down. I think that's pretty much like a given, but we'll see. I mean, anything could be possible with the way TNA is handling it, but it certainly feels that Rosemary and Wendy will get the win they deserve rightfully. And I also like seeing, like I said, Wendy Chu finally get a chance to get some recognition.
Yeah. And it's not just like, here's a token bit of recognition. It's, here, we found a perfect situation for you. Let's make the most of that, not a token like, here, have a shiny thing for a week.
Yeah,
like I think
exactly.
it's a gesture with purpose. And
absolutely.
And again, like on the business side of it, it does mean something for both companies as well. Gonna try and mention the next one without bringing the politics into it.
Go right ahead.
Jordan Grace defends the title against Masha Slamovich. This is probably going to be one of my favorite matches of the night.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all know that Jordan wins here still, but she's had the title for a very long time, it feels like anyways. Even it hasn't been that long, but certainly feels like it. And on top of it,
the rumors. Yeah,
so I mean, that's kind of, been what holds me back from thinking, but I really, it almost felt like a conclusion, because she's what? She's, let's see here. Jordan Grace has got the record for most title reigns with 7. Okay. So that's interesting. So Kim also holds the record for shortest title reign. Her days was just 18 hours. Taya Valkyrie is the longest title holder, 377 days. So this is her 3rd title reign. She defeated Trinity on January 13th. So it was January when she got it. I was going to say December. I couldn't remember if it was Hard to Kill or the one before that, but still. So
it was like right before the Rumble.
It was Hard to Kill, yeah.
Naomi came back in the Rumble, and then Jordan Grace showed up, and she had the title at the time. And Corey Graves was really cool on commentary, saying, "Hey, these two have history. That belt around Jordan Grace's waist was around," and she didn't say Trinity, but she said it was around Naomi's waist not that long ago.
Yep.
There's
the rumor they mentioned to that.
They're getting so much better with that too. And everybody,
because then you don't feel as a fan as slighted against, or because in a way for a long time it was like, oh, these places don't exist. So now that they're not only giving them a chance to talk, but also allowing them moments to flourish and have those things where like, oh, the women's champion for another company is coming out in the Rumble. That's insane.
And they did it with Mickie James as well, but it was still under the caveat of, yeah, she's a former WWE.
That's what I was going to say.
Jordan Grace threw that out the window, though.
Yeah, you nailed that.
But what was I going to say? No, but Jordan Grace, the rumors are her time in TNA is almost up. She may come to WWE, which lends itself to that whole, oh, this is the only reason they have partnerships. They're just going to steal all the talent, which we're going to delve into tomorrow when we have more time. If that is the case, and if this is kind of Jordan Grace's swan song in TNA, I mean, she's done everything she can do. She's been women's champion. She's broken records. She's been the men's champion. She's been a women's tag team champion. She's won somebody's going to have to correct me down in the box below if I'm wrong, but I think she was the first woman to win the Call Your Shot gauntlet, and she won the first women's Queen of the Mountain match.
Yeah.
So it's one of those,
the gauntlet for the gold, I think, was in there somewhere too.
Yeah. Which is a very similar setup to the Call Your Shot. So it's one of those. I'm not itching to rip her away from TNA. I am looking at it realistically in the sense of what else can she do.
That was kind of my thing. Like, who else does she face post this for the title? Like, who does she defend against and make it compelling? Because in it. This
is the other half of it as well. Is Masha Slamovich? I enjoyed her in the tag team with Killer Kelly, obviously, but like, if you look at the two of them when they get in the ring together, she's one of the most believable women in that division to take that title off Jordan. Because I'm sorry, you can get somebody that's really fun, really athletic, like a Tasha Steelz is the example that I can think of, or even somebody like a Rosemary who I really enjoy. But in all reality, Jordan Grace is going to stretch them out and wear them as a belt.
Yeah, exactly.
And I say that with all due respect, but Jordan Grace in that division is like Rhea Ripley in WWE. Like,
yeah, just tearing through everybody.
There really is, again, respectfully, there's Jordan Grace and there's everybody else. Yeah. Masha Slamovich is probably the closest. 2 years ago at Bound for Glory, they had a fantastic match that people are still talking about now, to the point where I think they re-released that match this week.
I think, I saw it. I think it was on their
socials
YouTube
or whatever. Yeah. They're playing off this weird kind of story where she just got away from the system, thank God, away from Alicia Edwards, thank God, and we thought she had gone babyface again, but then as a babyface, she's brought back the kill wall, and Jordan Grace is on the kill wall, and they're doing this, I don't hate you, but I've been in your shadow, and da-da-da-da. So they're doing this, like, the bad part of me wants to beat you, the good part of me still respects you. Like, she's not doing a split personality, but she's doing this really kind of nuanced struggle. She's not quite a heel, but she's willing to do heel-y things to get out of somebody's shadow who she sees as better than, which is kind of respectful in the wrestling world.
I'll take it. It's an oddity, but it certainly works.
And, I mean, we saw Masha Slamovich and Shayna Baszler at Bloodsport as well, which was also a lot of fun. And they've been mentioning that quite a bit in this feud leading up to it. The various opportunities that Jordan Grace has had, in WWE, in NXT, the stuff that Masha Slamovich has kind of gone the other way and gone to Bloodsport and a couple of other things. It won't be. But if they did by chance put this in the main event, it wouldn't hurt my feelings.
Okay.
It won't be. I'll tell you that for free. But
I mean, I understand why they could put that there. I don't see them doing it, but I mean, she's certainly, it's all held in high regard. And I'm tired, like you said as well, with the system and splitting them. They still have Alicia Edwards, but still, whatever. The Hardys, ABC coming up, like there's just there's a lot to consider.
Hardys, ABC, and the system is okay. This is where you do kind of fall into a little bit of a pattern. It is Bound for Glory. It is their biggest pay-per-view of the year. They want to get a Full Metal Mayhem match on the card.
Yeah,
and they've got the Hardys back, so of course the Hardys are going to be in it.
Yeah. Do you think the Hardys hate that they ever revolutionized or had anything to do with fucking ladders?
I don't think so. I think they enjoy.
Every time you go out to wrestle, you got to jump off of at least a 12-foot ladder. Like you know what I mean? Like, oh god, here we go again, kind of thing. But
Yeah, but how many people in wrestling can say they have something like that that's genuinely theirs, or at least seen as theirs? Like they,
Yeah, no doubt about it. But
it's shared. It's along with Edge and Christian and the Dudleys, but it was kind of the torch went directly from Shawn and Razor to them as far as who's identified with this kind of match.
yes.
I mean, their bodies probably hate them for it, but.
That at least was what I was going for, but
Yeah.
everyone wants to jump on the Hardys.
I'm going anybody but the system.
I don't hate or dislike Ace Austin, but Chris Bay I've never been really a fan of.
Really?
Yeah, it's not that I dislike him. It's just it just didn't catch with me.
He doesn't grab you.
Yeah, it's just one of those that has yet to do whatever in my brain that's needed to go ooh, and. He's not bad. It's just very, to me, generic. Like he's just that prototypical look of.
Were you watching when Jay White was there and he did his sort of like his TNA version of the Bullet Club?
Yes.
And it started with him recruiting Chris Bay.
Yeah.
And then later on they picked up Ace because when it was.
I thought
Jay
they would
White,
do something more with him. Like I thought Chris Bay was going to be a big deal then, but.
When it was Jay White and Chris Bay as a tag team, he was a little more. He dug in on the obnoxious side a little bit more.
Yeah,
like,
certainly.
Them going babyface. Ace Austin has been able to keep up the same amount of like sarcasm that kind of made them work. I think Chris Bay, from a personality perspective, like he pulled back on the sarcasm a little bit and tried to be a little bit more of like the genuine babyface, let's go and get it done, which isn't really what people wanted from him. But in the ring, they're fantastic. They've both had X Division, what do you want to say, like X Division prowess in the past. Ace Austin, when he was on his own, when he was basically TNA's version of Gambit.
Yeah, he could.
TNA had their own version of Gambit with him, and they had their own. They have their own version of Punisher with Steve Macklin. So
yeah, very funny.
They're going for the comic thing. I mean, there's always the nostalgia and the bias for me. If they threw the titles on the Hardys one more time, everybody else would hate it. I would.
See, I don't think everybody would hate it though, because the Hardys can still go, and I have a feeling they're going to be either this year or next in the Hall of Fame. I really see that happening.
I think they're going to be NXT Tag Champions for at least a couple of days.
Yeah, so I think not only are they going to be tag champs, I think that this might be part of a catalyst to get them sent to NXT or WWE. So
I think I mentioned this to you offline, but with all the talk of the 2300 show that NXT doing, I believe Bully Ray has already confirmed that he's going. I can see the Hardy Boys showing up with Bully Ray.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially
because I don't think Devon can do much. I mean, I've seen his kids wrestle now, so I don't think Devon can do very much. But I think, Twist of Fate, somebody helps with a 3D on some rent. I think I said to you, like, the three of them versus Gallus in some kind of ECW-ish match would be fine. It wouldn't be like 5 stars in Tokyo Dome, but it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be 1 star. It's supposed to be 6 stars in the ECW arena.
Yes.
In all honesty, I want the system to fall apart. And that makes me sound like an edgelord on Twitter. But
I've
put him
never
back on
cared
ABC.
for Brian Myers. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He's another one. So this whole tag match to me was kind of like, this is my only of the card.
And it's ironic because it's basically TLC, and how can TLC be meh?
Exactly, and it won't be bad. No, it'll be exciting.
Here's the thing. I like the Hardys. I like ABC. I don't like the system, but I do like Eddie Edwards. So Brian Myers for me is the odd one out. But he's in the, not quite as much as what I was talking about Steve Macklin earlier, but he's in that, like, I'm not watching a match for him, but if he's in the match,
I'll watch.
He'll be solid. I think he's one of those guys. Jeff gets more credit for doing all the crazy stuff, but Matt was always known as the guy that knew how to put a match together.
Yes.
I think both Brian Myers and Matt Cardona are credited as well with guys like that. So if he's not doing something fantastic, it's because he's thinking about what the fantastic guy is about to do. And sort of keeping all the chess pieces on the table where they're supposed to be. And people like that don't always get the credit because they're not always the most fantastic guy in the ring. But I don't want to say the guy's bad. He's just going to be solid while everybody else is being entertaining.
And it will be entertaining, we know, no doubt.
I'm just saying put him back on ABC. If they go with the Hardys, nostalgia is going to hit me in the heart, and I'm going to love it. But in reality,
I hope they do.
In reality, it's probably going to be ABC.
Especially with how the tag division is right now, it doesn't hurt to have the Hardys take this title. You know,
because
it's not
if we're
leaving
cross
anyone
over,
cast aside.
We've sent guys over, we've sent girls over, we haven't sent tag teams over yet.
No, and I think
I'm sorry, ABC versus Fraxium.
Yeah, that would be damn good. But I'm more interested to see what they do with the Hardys. You know, I think that could be, especially seeing how AEW ruined them, like in the, you know, for.
Well, you drop somebody off a scissor lift to the concrete and then don't give a shit.
Exactly.
Tony Khan looking at you.
And they tried to do like a solo thing with Matt for a little bit, but then they stopped pushing that, and then they followed it up with the horrible tag team endeavor of the two of them, and then how they ever, you know, messed that up. I don't know.
Wasn't he like managing Private Party for a while?
Yeah,
or
Matt, and
something?
he was a shyster, giving them bad contracts and big money Matt and
bad manager or whatever.
Yeah,
lick a tit or whatever.
Exactly, just bad manager. Take your money. You should have learned better.
Exactly.
And it's like, it was kind of funny to see Matt do some of it because it fit with the big money Matt character, but it still wasn't great for what we know. He could have been a world champion at that point.
Yeah.
And they made him look ridiculous with the broken shit, teleporting all over the place, and doing some real asinine stuff. So now,
okay, you know what? I like to dunk on AEW. I think a lot of that stuff was happening during COVID, where everybody was kind of throwing shit at the wall. So that's one place where I'll give them a little bit of grace.
I mean, I'm picking.
And you couldn't do that with an arena full of
thing,
people anyway.
But there was a lot of shit. I mean, from him changing into an ice chest or falling into a puddle, they really tried to do.
Oh, when he went into the hot tub and he came out as like different people.
Or the ice chest, or the pool during the what do you call it there? The Anarchy and the other one, the Stadium Stampede.
Yeah.
So there was just a lot of like, you have to kind of. And I'm okay to roll my eyes and go along with things. I don't mind it at times. I could believe that Undertaker can teleport. You know what I mean? But it was the way they showed it. It looked very hokey, and so I don't know. I think this would be a nice thing for the Hardys to really have a chance to be celebrated.
Well, I mean, Jake, it's not like they have a budget. Haven't you heard? They're just the struggling underdog trying to make ends meet and just trying to put on good shows.
That's all they can do. They're surviving.
I hate. If they
and this is the first time in a while where TNA really knows its place well. They're not trying to be WWE like they were previously. They're not trying to take over anything. They're like, hey, this is us. We know the audience that we have. We knew they're very loyal to us, and we also know about like this and that. So they're not trying to be the number 2 company, or they're not trying. They just want to put on good wrestling and give people a place to work, and it's working really well so far. So it's been. Since they especially since they went back to the TNA name, but even before that, the last since COVID kicked off and they got to start to work with NXT and it was rumblings and whatnot, they've really picked up a bit since then. So
and I mean they dared to reach across the aisle and work with the big bad spooky scary Fed.
Here's another one for transition. Mike Santana taking on Moose. Great singles match to throw in here. Moose, former champion, certainly a big match for Santana after AEW, all the bullshit he went through there. He splits with his brother, comes here, and he's going to make a solo name for himself, and he's just been very dominating and believable and enjoyable. So
you know what I like about Santana, right? And I don't know what to call it, and maybe you've got better words than I do. He came over, and it was like, okay, you heard the rumblings about what happened with him and Ortiz and what happened with him leaving AEW and whatever, and he just kind of shows up, and you kind of think it's like, oh, another one, like Alan Angels came over to TNA and kind of did some stuff and then kind of disappeared. And it's like, okay, so Santana's just going to okay, I've decided I'm going to live over here for a bit. And they haven't pushed him down anybody's throat. They've kind of thrown him into the mix with the system story, which is kind of a dead start anyway. But every time I see him out there, and he just looks. I used a similar thing with Jimmy when Jimmy came back at Bad Blood to help with with the tag team or whatever. And it just, he looked electric, and all it took was a little bit of time away. All it took for Santana was just being in a different place, not being in the tag team anymore, not being where people are going to ask him, hey, where's Ortiz? Not being where people are even necessarily going to be like, hey, what happened in AEW? Just with people that are happy to see him. And just he's taken that excitement into like whatever match he's been in so far. And he hasn't set TNA on fire, but he's got himself into this cool spot now where like every time I see him pop up on the screen, like I'm just happy for the guy.
Exactly.
He looks like he's breathing. He looks like he's standing a bit taller. He looks like he's breathing a little bit easier. And he just looks more... I really don't want to say this because you're not supposed to act like the wrestlers are your friends or whatever, but he looks more comfortable in his own skin.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, if he beats Moose and it causes the downfall of the system, then bonus. Nothing against Moose.
No,
I like Moose.
Not.
Moose is another one of those guys. Just go fight a truck. Moose and Obafemi needs to happen.
Yes.
Moose
oh
is a
my
tank.
God, yes. You want to talk like an actual like dream match?
Yeah.
That's one for me. Yeah. I would love. I'm very big on Obafemi. I have been for a long time. Cornette was making me laugh about his accent because he said it sounded like Eddie Murphy and Coming to America kind of idea. And he's not wrong because it's not his real accent. And everyone was like, "Oh, that's racist! How dare you!" And then Obafemi talks without an accent when he's really talking, and they're like, "Oh, I guess we're the racist ones. Sorry."
Yeah,
we
it's
assume
kind of like
a
reverse
accent.
Kofi Kingston thing.
Yes.
But I
Jamaica man.
But I mean, Obafemi's chasing Nikita Lyons now.
Right.
Which is apparently racist.
White girl with a big ass. Of course the black guy's going for it. God damn it.
We're crossing the racial divide like an Oreo cookie. Anyways, not doing that. Jesus Christ, I'm an asshole. Let's talk about not Moose facing Obafemi, which would be awesome. Let's talk about Santana, who's going to have a great match with Moose.
Yeah.
I'm happy for the guy. I don't mind seeing Moose on my screen just being a tank.
Yes. I think Moose wins
It's a match
here.
that's going to be a match. I think Santana...
You think Santana? Okay, I like that we're different. I think Santana needs it more. So what I think was going to happen, because they still want Moose to be this, like, final boss in a way. Like, people have beaten him, but he's not been fully... Like, Joe Hendry got the pin, and then we saw with Namath, but it hasn't been this, like, total destruction of him by any means.
See, but here's the way you play with that, though, and I'm really hoping... I hope that the Full Metal Mayhem match happens earlier on in the card, and Brian Myers, Eddie Edwards. I'm not obviously wishing anybody an actual injury.
No.
Like kayfabe, like they're really worn down from the trials and tribulations of a match like that, which you should be.
So they can't interfere.
You can take the whole okay, Moose is the final boss, but are you the final boss when you have to stand on your own 2 feet? And that's when Mike Santana beats him, not necessarily because he's better, but because Moose is so used to having that backup.
Yeah,
you play off that story. I don't think you make Moose look like a loser by just the fact that he's not used to not having backup.
So you swayed my vote. I'm not going to change my pick. I'm going to stick with it. But you have just that explanation. You did put it in such a way that really kind of swayed my vote because honestly, I didn't think of it like that. And I more envisioned, hey, Santana's going to get a really good, like you mentioned before, that close 3 count, that something like the ref wasn't there to count it, the ref's down, whatever it might be. I envisioned that to happen for him, and then we'll get a rematch from these two with a stipulation.
You know what I just thought of, though?
What's that?
Yes, I forgot that there's 4 members of the system now. Brian Myers, Eddie Edwards are going to be mashed up from the tag match, but there's still JDC.
Oh,
so
that's right.
He's still going to have a little bit of backup, unless Mike Santana, takes him out before the match even starts. Like, yeah, you had 1 left. Last domino just fell. Let's go.
Yeah, what are you going to do now?
Here's the thing that I'll say about Mike Santana. I do enjoy him. I'm happy for him. I like every time I see him on my TV, but he hasn't set the world on fire just yet. If he wasn't in this match, I would have him as a surefire bet for the gauntlet.
Okay. All right. That I could get along with that. Absolutely.
Because I could see you can't do it all the time, but you can do it sometimes. Cash in on the same night type of idea. Like if Mike Santana cashed in on Nick Nemeth, Joe Hendry, they're all baby faces, but that's 3 very different and over people.
Yeah.
The crowd would be really interesting to watch in that one. I'm going with Santana. You're going with Moose. Please bring the downfall of the system. Alicia Edwards will be there screaming with her neck brace for reasons.
Yeah. So
now before we get to the main event,
we still have one that I'm looking forward to.
Matt Cardona, Monsters Ball.
Now this is going to be great. So Cardona comes back and attacks at the wedding, and just completely with a cinder block destroys PCO, and he's like, I'm taking back my property. Steph, she's still dealing with a neck injury, so I mean, she can't really.
She's been around for like pre-recorded content, like. I think she was there when PCO did the Pick Your Poison last week when PCO chose Nick Nemeth to face Matt Cardona.
Yeah.
And Matt Cardona chose Rhino to face PCO because they're friends. And, yeah, I mean, there's Rhino. He's about to go into the Hall of Fame and all that kind of thing.
I like the way they use it, though, because it's like when we signed our indie contracts, it was in there making you, you're my slave. You're subservient to me. And, so you're my property. I'm going to take you back. And it has this personal feel to it, Yeah. We thought they'd have some sort of a match, and then we didn't get the intergender match that we thought we were going to get. And because of her revealing that she has to step away with a neck injury, so her and PCO left, and then we were like, all right, so now Rhino gets attacked instead. Sure, so I like that there's this thing in the background, but it's all building to this huge match. And I am really kind of, he's got the Digital Media Championship still, right?
And the the Canadian International Heavyweight Wrestling Championship, which they had a pay-per-view in Montreal. And he got another belt.
That's why I was confused.
It's kind of cool that they're throwing it into here because the TNA Digital Media Championship, basically their version of a TV title, it doesn't get a lot of love a lot of the time. It was traded back and forth between Jordan Grace and Matt Cardona a lot, which was a lot of fun.
And this is basically Matt Cardona's belt. It was the woo it belt, essentially, that he just couldn't have in WWE.
Exactly.
And that was the unfortunate part of it because, I mean, people wanted to cheer him. They wanted to see him succeed. When he got that IC title win, like, it was a big deal because of the connection he had with fans.
Oh, yeah.
But now I feel like we're missing out on like you said, having that kind of, in a way, with the way the belt's been treated. So it did flip-flop a lot, but I think...
But you can here's the thing, though, with that. You can either make a story all about a belt, or you can interweave a belt that doesn't mean that much into a story that people are into, and I think that's the direction they've decided to go with this. Throwing in another belt that doesn't even have anything to do with TNA doesn't really help with muddying the waters.
No.
I have a sneaky suspicion that SDL comes back on the night, and we find out that she's been fucking with PCO the whole time, and the king and queen of hardcore and indies are still the king and queen of hardcore and indies.
Yeah.
I have a sneaky... Because you're going to get... I don't know who you're going to get, because Cardona, since he's been back, he's kind of worked with Khan a little bit, like Connor from the Ascension, who's another fucking tank.
Yes.
I can see him bringing in Khan. I can see PCO getting help from Rhino. Maybe punches him with the Hall of Fame ring. The beautiful TNA ring. I predict there's going to be all kinds of stupid shit in here as well. Like,
I'm sure there will be.
If Matt Cardona comes out there and he's got his actual internet championship as a weapon, as a prop, whatever, that could be a lot of fun. Again, there's rumors that he wants to come to WWE and get back together with Chelsea. And
I'm sure. I mean, those rumors have been there forever. And Chelsea's been a bit more prevalent lately. She's been very well received by the fans in attendance of wherever she's at.
What's insane is she gets so much more love when she shows up on NXT.
Yeah, I mean, when she came out this week, the fans erupted. It was a hell of a pop.
They popped.
And I couldn't have been happier for her because it's like, hey, yeah, you deserve that. You've put in all this work, all this effort. You really do deserve to be treated like, hey, this is our chance.
It's kind of funny, though, because like you look at the differences between NXT and the main roster, right? Like, on the main roster, she's appreciated for the funny character that she plays. We know she's a heel. She's kind of there to be embarrassed, do the dumpster match type thing. And I think she's legitimately appreciated in that role on the main roster.
Oh, certainly. She's great at it.
But when she goes back to NXT, it's like that goes away, and they appreciate her as a star. They're both good, but they're just different.
Yeah,
and NXT
I feel
fans are a different breed, I guess you could say. But I don't know.
Get that.
I think maybe maybe do you suggest that, like, if Cardona goes back to WWE to be with his partner, which is absolutely fine and a very good reason to do anything. By the way, people out there, don't be weird to Samantha Irving. She's awesome. Leave her alone. But I mean, if that opens the door for Steph DeLander taking a second stab at NXT, I mean, that women's division is already stacked. Always room for one more.
Yeah, certainly. No doubt about it.
I don't know. I see Matt Cardona winning this. PCO, big, hefty fan favorite and all that, but I think like there's going to be one heartbreak.
Yeah.
On the show.
If it doesn't happen with Stephanie, then something's happening. I think Matt's winning here, and we're going to see PCO.
Oh yeah, no, the Steph DeLander heel turn is my prediction, but separate from that, I either way, I think Cardona's winning this.
I think Cardona's winning as well, but I really like your prediction for the Steph involvement with her, coming back and fucking over PCO. That would be a hell of a moment. So I could really see that being a possibility.
Because if you do that, then you play up the whole time that he was treating her like crap was all an act, and you got this monster that can't feel anything to feel something. Mm-hmm. Man, cinema. They're taking some lessons from WWE. Anyways.
Yeah.
Now, biggest match they can possibly give us. I mentioned a cash-in earlier, but I kind of don't want there to be a cash-in. I kind of am not a fan of the special guest referee even in this match because I like Frankie Kazarian, but I wish this was just a match for the match's sake. Nick Nemeth, Joe Hendry, this is the biggest match TNA can give us right now.
It really is. I mean, at least up there with it.
But like in all honesty, like of who they, other than if they did a big crossover thing, like with just their guys and all
crossover
their,
be damned.
All their people are great. Don't get me wrong, but of who TNA has on their roster right now, what's a bigger combination as far as popularity, as far as who's being followed? Joe Hendry's going back to Eurovision. Nick Nemeth is still seen as being Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah, I mean, you just saw him recently when he was at Destiny, and I mean, what an entrance he made there. Joe Hendry is amazing, and he's a very special talent that they're lucky to have, and they're capitalizing on him and his ability to trend, however you want to word it. He's been very successful in all of his calculated risks. Like, he knows, like you said, he reverse engineered his song. He went ahead and he had an idea in mind of what he wanted, and he worked until he got it. And now, I mean, you've got fans believing all over. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't the WWE Machine's idea. It wasn't fans eventually like naming you this and doing this. Like, this is all done by his intent. And I am just a really big fan of his for so many reasons.
Couldn't be happier. I'm sorry that I didn't know who he was sooner than this. Like, when he came to TNA was when I first saw Joe Hendry. You showed me some of the older
the ICW
some of the older stuff, right?
Yeah. Back before he was blonde.
If you hear him being interviewed and whatever, you see him and he speaks so, what do you want to say, like, so affluently about how much TNA has supported him in the other things that he's doing. Like, potentially, like, when he's doing music stuff, if he needs to get somewhere, they're helping him out. They basically shared him with NXT for a while. He had full use of everything WWE has to offer, from the Performance Center to the trainers there and whatnot. But even the stuff that he was doing for for NXT, TNA was helping to facilitate all of it. Hey, you're doing this cool music stuff, that's going to get your name out there. That can only help us. Why don't you let us assist you in XYZ way? If you see him, like, sort of out of character, he seems like the most, like, not humble, because if you're a celebrity, there's not really that much humbleness, but as humble as a celebrity can be, like, the most, like, humble, thankful, appreciative dude. But at the same time, and here's kind of the problem with Nick Nemeth, right? Especially Nick Nemeth coming into a place like TNA. He got to the top, and they put him as the champion. If he loses the title, what do they do with him?
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of the thing, but I even without the title, I feel like he can still be a pain in the ass and a thorn in the side of people, and he can still get that kind of heat from the audience. So I feel okay if they have him lose the title here. I think Nick will be okay. He's really proven himself away from WWE, certainly.
Oh yeah.
And
well, what did he join? He joined TNA and then he won like the AAA title like 2 weeks later or something like that.
Exactly, like back right at it. So awesome on his part to
I kind of wonder
get back
because Joe Hendry's already got his foot in the door with NXT. Could we see a situation? As I say, speculation on tomorrow night's matches tomorrow night. But Joe Hendry comes out at the end of Havoc with the belt and stares down whoever the world champion is. And we do what Jordan Grace and Roxanne Perez did at some later date.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly can see that being the case. So, yeah. No, I can certainly see that being what happens here.
It's kind of, because they're both so over, it's like I'm not a fan of Joe, I'm not a fan of Nick, I'm a fan of the match. Therefore, I don't want to pick a winner, because if somebody wins, the match is over.
Yeah. No, I get that. And we don't get those kind of things too often either.
Not really.
So it's nice to have that, hey, look, we genuinely want everybody to enjoy themselves, and this is going to be special. And we don't always
at the last second, they decide to make it an Iron Man match.
No, God. That would be a TNA thing to do, no doubt about it. But
yeah, why not, right? As I say, I don't really want to touch on the Frankie Kazarian thing anymore because I wish it wasn't a thing. I hope it's a matter of, because they both don't like him, I hope it's a matter of he rings the bell, they both knock him out, and a regular referee comes out.
I hope so, too. Like you said, special guest referees, it really depends on who's the ref and what they're doing with it.
So there's my
and that's kind of been
picks.
the thing.
If they weren't involved in the card, there'd be my two top picks to win the Call Your Shot gauntlet would be Frankie Kazarian or Mike Santana.
I would have Santana on my own personal choices. But yeah, no, I think Joe Hendry's going to win. I keep going back and forth. It seems like they really want that, because I mean that would be huge for him and the crowd and the go home happy moment, all the social media coverage. Like I just see them really benefiting from him winning here. So
okay. I think Bound for Glory is supposed to be like the end of a chapter type thing. If we come out of it with a brand new women's champion, a brand new men's champion, it'll succeed in that.
Or at least one of the two, certainly. And that's what the thing is. It's like we need something to feel special at this point in time, and they've done it. And it's like you said, you don't want to see either person win because you don't want to see anybody lose. And it's not a very common thing.
It's not even about winning or losing. Is as soon as somebody wins, the match is over, and I want to still be in the match. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. But I feel like they want that go home happy moment with the belt on Hendry's shoulder kind of idea. I think not that having Namath defend the title successfully is a bad thing, but with how popular Hendry is and the fact that he's already lost quite a few other title opportunities.
Yeah, the Alexander heel turn was basically at his expense.
Exactly. And
they could revisit that, I suppose.
They could, but is that really what you want to see? I mean, maybe if they did something quick with it, but I wouldn't want to see a long-term thing between those two, so... Yeah. I think Hendry has to win here. I think it really is like a needs to happen moment. Just like Cody needs to finish the story, I think Hendry needs to walk out.
Don't miss the moment type of thing.
Yes, exactly. Because, I mean, could they do it at another pay-per-view, another show down the road? But I think the fans are hungry for it now, so why wait, really?
Exactly.
So, I think that's my pick. I think Hendry is walking out the champ and heading back into NXT with the TNA title on his shoulder. I think that's going to be a big deal too.
Yeah, I mean,
they're going to have their
X Division
champion.
Their X
back.
Division title has shown up there. Their women's title has shown up there. It's about time their men's title showed up there.
Exactly, and who better than
somebody we already know?
Favorite Joe Hendry.
Exactly.
Everybody in NXT loves him. And not just the fans. I mean, Shawn Michaels praised him.
Oh, yeah.
And so many others. They went nuts with it, being like, oh, my God, he's just, been the most humble, sincere, kind, outgoing, amazing. Like you can't say enough nice things about him. And there's been quite a few of those lately in wrestling. And it feels like, the shitty people have been getting their comeuppance, as where that didn't always happen. It seems like the people that have been really diligent about being good to the fans, being good to people in general are starting to see, like, hey, nice guys don't always finish last, and we're recognizing your efforts. Feels like people are getting rewarded for being good. and I think it's a bit refreshing.
I think with that, with the NXT thing, and I know this has been a pretty NXT heavy thing for a TNA show, I think the companies need to reward themselves and reward each other as much as the companies need to reward their talent. And I think that's also happening.
Yeah.
Something big is, when we get to WrestleMania season, something big is happening with this crossover thing. There's going to be a crossover pay-per-view, or maybe some TNA involvement at WrestleMania.
I mean, we heard Hendry already saying about the Rumble, and, he's like, a couple months, what comes up, and having
but he also called out John Cena, remember? He's called out John Cena and Eminem.
So, well, Eminem is given, but for him and Cena to have a match during Cena's last year goodbye tour, fuck yeah, sign me up for that, please. I would be all about that, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I want to see Cena face Punk. I want to see Cena face Drew. I want to see Cena take on everybody.
Joe Hendry versus Punk is something I hadn't thought of until just now.
And that would be, fuck me, incredible.
That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I mean, and isn't it great to have this lately, to have that fuck me excitement again?
Yeah.
And I mean, we lost it for a while there. We really did. And even with NXT, it kind of fell short for a little bit. So having everybody...
This is the thing, like, as much as we talk about... And I know I just cut you off, sorry.
No, go ahead.
As much as we talk about, like, how WWE's on fire right now, NXT and TNA are more interesting. WWE's killing it. Like, let's not make two bones about it. But NXT and TNA are more interesting. Is that fair to say?
No, I agree. Like, Cody's story was very simple, and same with the Bloodline. It's very formulaic. It was just done in such a great way because they took their time to build it up. They had 4 years to make you hate Roman and feel bad for Jay and want Jimmy to come out. All this shit. So
Jimmy got a pop.
Yeah.
And the card's going to be fun on Saturday. We will be back tomorrow night talking about NXT, not only Halloween Havoc, but some surrounding news and notes and whatever. So
what's to come for next week? Exactly. I mean, we got a lot to look forward to next week on TNA as well, and next week on NXT. So,
and the following week we will be previewing NXT at the 2300. So lots of stuff. If you're getting this, I hope to drop all of these Friday morning. You should be getting this and Havoc at the same time if all things go correctly.
Absolutely.
Jake, you and I are going to be talking tomorrow night about NXT, but tell them where to find you.
Well, you can find me and you this Sunday. We'll be live on my channel, so at Jake DeMarco Countdown Ended, you can find us there. We'll be live covering Halloween Havoc. So, unfortunately, not able to do Bound for Glory myself, but we'll be there.
We'll
for
talk
Halloween
about it
Havoc.
a little bit,
yeah. Absolutely. Well, we cover it
Key
Sunday
points.
night. But Sunday night is going to be great. You, me, Pumpkin's back, spin the wheel. We got to see what the choice they make for Fatal Instinct. There's just so many good things to look forward to this weekend. I can't pick like my set most favorite yet. I'm like, I want to see. What about the? Like, I just keep going back and forth. If I had to pick one match between both shows, I think I'm going with the Joe Hendry main event. Because I really, really want to see him be champion. He has worked so hard for so long, and that would be just a really feel-good moment. Another Cody Rhodes finishing the story. That.
We're spoiled for choice this weekend, but I've got 3, and they're all women's matches. The sort of all-star tag we're getting on NXT with Julia, Stephanie Vecchio,
Can't wait
Roxy,
for that, obviously.
And Cora. And then the women's tag match and the women's title match on this card that we just talked about. I think the ladies are going to kill it this weekend. They're not going to be in the main event slots, but I think they're going to probably maybe prove that they should have been.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And with that tag match, I mean, think about what we got the other day. They were killing it. And it wasn't even against Cora and and Roxanne. So wait until we see those two in the ring with them. My God, it's really going to be fucking,
we're all over the place.
I can't wait for this entire weekend to go ahead and have some great wrestling. You and I will be live on my channel this Sunday. Yep. You can check us out there. Come hang out. Let us know what you thought of Halloween Havoc.
Can we find you on Twitter yet?
I think this weekend we should be able to. If I don't do it, I'm just going to buy the stupid upgrade and do it.
It's going to be Jake versus Elon, Chapter 1. And you guys know where to find me, or you wouldn't be here. I've been Spaz. This has been Super Sexy Jake DeMARCO. This has been us talking about TNA for once. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging it.